Today on the Genus Brewing channel, we're doing a malt experiment. So, Logan, what I want you to do, I want you to give each of these a smell and a taste and see what you think. And I'm gonna let the guys know what we're gonna be doing.
All right, well, obviously these are dark malts. So I'm not really sure what you're pulling on me right now, but I'm gonna go,
So what we're gonna be doing, just for the record, both of these have 2 pounds in them, and we are doing a single infusion mash. We already got that going in the back. We're gonna run both of those off, and we're planning just to split that mash into 2 different boils and do a hot side steep with both of these dark malts.
So first off with this one, obviously a dark roasted malt. I'm getting just a lot of cocoa from it. Just like straight up cocoa powder aromatics from it. The flavor is mild but still roasted. It doesn't have that bite that I would expect from something like roasted barley or black malt. So I'm gonna say that this is somewhere along the lines of perhaps a deep bitter malt, maybe a chocolate malt.
Okay.
This one obviously looks different from appearance.
Yep, looks a little bit lighter than this one.
The aroma is actually less intense on it. It's got more of almost like a coffee aromatic to it. More robust flavor.
Yep.
This one's a tricky one. Is it a coffee malt? I don't know.
It's not a coffee malt, so coffee malt would be slightly crystallized. These are actually both chocolate malts, but one of them is from Thomas Fawcett and one of them is from Proximity Malts.
Whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the same malt can taste different from a different maltster?
Weird, it's like we've said that before. We try to be fun to do a malt experiments, and so I chose these 2 malts. We actually usually use Hugh Baird's chocolate malts, but we're out of that, so we went with Proximity and Thomas Fawcett because we had both of those handy, and we're gonna go get these steeped and see what they taste different likeness. All right, I don't know why Logan put the sun directly in my eyes, but we're gonna go ahead and get mashed in here anyway. Thanks for the shot, Logan. So like we mentioned, we're just gonna do 1 giant mash, and we're gonna be able to split this off into 1 giant boil, so make sure everything is evenly mixed, and then that boil, we're gonna split off into 2 different sub-boils, I guess. We're gonna get those going at the same time, and do a warm steep with the chocolate malt at about mash temperature. That should reduce any astringency or extra bitterness that we get off of doing it in the entire mash, or anything hotter than mash temperature. So we should be able to get the true flavor of the chocolate malt without all the extra harshness. Mashing in with 20 pounds of grain is doable in the Anvil system. It's not easy, but it's doable. If you haven't seen our other video on the Anvil brew system, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. We made a barley wine. You'll have to stick around for the tasting in, 6 to 8 months. Second bucket.
For those of you curious what a 20-pound grain bill looks like.
What a 20-gallon brew looks like in a 10-gallon system. Because we're magical. Alright, well, as I sit awkwardly close to our Anvil brew system, just to go over the grain bill really quick, so far all we have in here is mostly Pilsner malt and just a little bit of acid malt and a little bit of melanoidin malt for mash balance and just a touch of character. It's a good clean base. There's not a lot that's going to adjust the flavor of the beer in this, so we're really relying on that chocolate malt to give all the flavor. And then we got rice holes, obviously, because very verticalized brew system, which means we're needing those rice holes to kind of break up the mash and make it so it's easily spargeable. Okay, so we're done with the mash. We've been recirculating for about 10 minutes now, which means that the wort is looking nice and clear. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the grain basket and sparge down into there, and when that gets full and this gets empty, we're going to start doing kind of a figure-8 style recirculation system to get everything mixed up evenly, at which point we are divide the 2 into our anvil and our mash and boil, and this is before we're heating it up, so that should leave it right around 155 degrees. We'll throw in our chocolate malt, get the steep going, and then we'll pull that out and bring it out to a boil, hopefully get them both boiling evenly at the same time to make it as consistent of a test as possible.
And I'm in this shot to look pretty.
Do you though? Boiling water is hot.
Boiling water.
All right, well that worked exactly as planned. Now let's go ahead and give a little slow trickle of sparge water. Perfect.
Why is there grains in that?
I don't want to talk about it.
What'd you do?
You did it, not me.
Nice slow sparge.
Just like Daddy ordered, just like the doctor ordered. All right, so what we got going on now is we are recirculating these, and I'm just kind of adjusting the flow rate while I'm doing that to make sure that we end up with about the same amount of liquid in each one. We're probably gonna get a little under 6 gallons in both of them, but the importance of recirculating it through both directions is to try to mix it up as evenly as possible. That way we hopefully have the same work in this vessel as we do in this vessel. After we get the volumes kind of dialed in, the next thing we do is just grind up the chocolate malts and get them steeping. We'll probably steep for about 20 minutes. Volumes are even, the wort is all mixed around, so now we're just going to steep our chocolate malts. We're going to go, the anvil is going to take the Thomas Fawcett chocolate malt, so we'll get that put in there. And the brewer's edge is going to get the proximity chocolate. Well, I'm going to let both these sit for about 20 minutes, then we're just going to pull it out and boil this sucker up. Now we are up to a boil. We have it staggered out so that this one should be at a boil about 20 minutes before this one. The steep time on the chocolate malts was the exact same. The only reason we're doing the stagger is because we want to make sure that we are able to use the same chiller in both beers. So what I'm going to do now that this is at a boil, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 ounces of Mosaic American Noble hops. So 3% alpha acids basically. Just kind of a nice, relatively neutral, standard addition. But one of the reasons I don't want to do this is because they're packaged in 2-ounce packages, which makes it pretty perfect for keeping them consistent. So get this guy open. I got it. Like a man. That's what I am, I swear. Oh, they smell delicious. Does this smell good? Yum. Oh, it smells so good. All right, gonna add those in. Make sure it's not gonna jump out on me. Looks good. There we go. So we're just gonna let this go for 30 minutes from that time, and then hopefully this one's up at a boil right around 20 minutes after this one. We haven't set the same wattage, and so the boil should be relatively identical. Oh, so good. All right, so this is about 10 minutes away from starting to chill. This one's just starting to boil, so we're ready to add this addition of hops, and hopefully have everything timed out well enough that we won't have any additional time spent anywhere. Well, those are in, calling it a day. All right, it's been exactly a half hour since we started, since we added the hops to this, and this fortunately is down below 70 degrees, so batch number 1 is ready to go into the fermenter. Batch number 2, it's time to start chilling, and I think this is gonna time out just perfectly. Go ahead and switch that over. I already got the anvil turned off. So just switch those over, and then all I gotta do is get this into a fermenter. We're gonna be pitching flagship into both of these, so just another way to keep it consistent. And I don't really want to deal with the pump because I didn't take the time to sanitize it or anything like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour out the old top, old school style.
That is a dark beer right there.
Nice and dark. Try to stop before I get too much sediment in there. There we go. Try to leave all those proteins behind. And then I got my yeast sanitizing in the back, so all I gotta do is close these guys up, get this one chilled down, and do the same thing twice. All right, so it's been maybe 5 weeks since we brewed this beer. It's completely finished. We got it in cans, ready to go. And now we are joined by Travis from TT's Old Iron Brewing Company. Fantastic brewing company out here in the valley. Best barbecue, some of the best beer in all of Spokane. you can try right here. And he's gonna help us taste these two beers and see which one he likes best and see if he can tell a difference as much as we did. We tried them as grains, notice a difference. We tried them as wort before we fermented it, definitely noticed a difference there too. But the one true test to see what's going on with these two side by side is by trying them in the final beers. That's what we got ready to go here.
We got mystery beer one.
Labels out.
Labels out.
Laces out.
So, to give you all some context, Peter and I know what these beers are. Travis, however,
Have no clue.
does not. So he is basically going to be drinking 2 stouts, more or less, and figuring out what's what. What's
Excited to see what's what.
So for my lovely clean, number 1,
Thanks, babe.
number 2.
Yeah, baby.
Not gonna lie, I was really impressed at how we all chugged those.
So that one, keep track of this. I'm gonna pour both these so we have them side by side. We can actually do the taste. So number 2, I'm gonna pour before we get into either one of them.
Also, that burp I just did, TT's sausage.
Yeah, I'm glad you blew it that way.
Yeah, you'll want it in your mouth.
This is number 2.
All right,
Keep
number
track.
2.
That's number 2.
Number 2. Number 2s are going in your left hands.
Okay.
Swap hands. Swap
All
hands.
right.
Number 2 in your left hand.
Number 2, got it.
Number 2 in my left hand.
Colors.
I was gonna say peculiar. I can already see a difference in color.
I can too, actually. So, all right. Number 2 in the left hand, number 1 in the right hand. Let's start
Correct.
with number 2.
Let's complicate this.
So it's like we're starting with number 2.
Yeah, all right.
Already I can see number 2 seems to be a slightly lighter color. So
Well, and the other thing that I noticed, number 2 seems to have a brown tan head, whereas number 1 seems to have more of a white head.
Yep, definitely. So as you're
Okay.
noticing the color.
yeah, we're sipping it now. All right, number 2 instantly like tastes like coffee to me.
I get that same thing. Like I was gonna say, like a nice like medium roast coffee on number 2.
It's not in the back end, it's right away.
It's right away, yeah. It's the body on it is fairly thin, actually, thinner than I would expect from like a typical stout or something of that sort. Any other notes? Any other notes, folks?
So I get coffee. I almost get like almost a little bit of green pepper.
Okay, I can get on that. A little vegetal.
Yeah, so a little bit of vegetable,
So
and then like just a
peppery,
touch of like
little-
fruit.
No, I'm getting a little bit of a plum, like just a little hint of plum on that too, as the fruit with the coffee. Just
Okay.
not a lot, but just a touch, it seems like.
Yeah, no,
Something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But you
for
kind of
sure.
get that sometimes in some dark beers,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get the plum's a really great description of that actually.
Yeah, it's kind of like, huh.
Yeah.
I had to think about it for a minute, but I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
I recognize that.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I could tell it was fruity, but no, like pinpointing it out.
Yep.
So plum, medium roast coffee, and maybe
Yep.
a little bit of green pepper is kind of what we're getting off of.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
I think that's what we got for A.
So let's move on
Right.
to.
All right.
Let's jump into the second one here and
All right,
see what we get off the
second
that.
one, here we go.
Oh, very different. Very different.
Yep, there's a big difference in there. Mouth feels a lot different. Got a little peppery.
Pepper, yeah.
Just getting some pepper.
Yeah, I can see like maybe like a white pepper or something like that.
Yep, no, I agree with that.
It's-
Definitely. It kind of leaves your tongue like it's a little drier.
I was gonna
You guys
say
get the
drier,
dryness?
drier overall, but at the same time, it's got this like fuller mouthfeel to it, right?
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
definitely different.
Like
Way
maybe like a
different.
tannic, like the same like the tannin on a wine, like you know how like a Cabernet will kind of like dry out your tongue
Yep.
a little bit. Same
Yeah.
It is, and it
Yeah.
kind of, after you drink it, my tongue's still, you kind of feel it. Like,
Right?
yeah, it makes you want to drink another one.
thing. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, my
well,
tongue-
that's a good
yeah,
thing, I
that's
guess.
a- that's
then,
a
right?
marketing point
yeah,
right there,
That's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
thing.
Maybe you go with that for
They
that
use
reason.
this
Yeah.
malt, people drink more beer.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
there you go.
So we haven't told you at this point, but this is actually 2 different versions of chocolate malt.
Okay.
So the first one is from Proximity, and the second one is from Thomas Fawcett and Son. So we're aiming for chocolate malts here. As a brewer, what would you say between the two? Which one would you prefer to use?
I would prefer the second one.
Okay.
It's just, I prefer the darker, roastier versus the other one's kind of got the fruitiness to it.
Yeah.
You know, I like.
It's got that thinner mouthfeel
Yep,
too.
it's thinner.
Yeah.
And this is definitely your Scotch, your doppels, whatever you want to do. But this is definitely your porters, stouts, kind of your more
Interesting.
traditional
Okay.
dark beers.
Gotcha.
I would
Yeah.
think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that honestly the proximity to Scotch ale would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But
That extra fruitiness that you get off of that, I think.
yeah,
is
because
good.
it does have more fruitiness going on, and I think that could benefit a beer like a Scotch. It's got plenty of body, but I also, coming back to what you're saying, makes perfect sense, you know, for your porters and your stouts.
Me, when I'm putting this together, like in my mind, when I'm building recipes and I'm trying to make a chocolate flavor in a beer, right? I'm aiming for like straight cocoa. I'm aiming for that chocolate flavor.
Sure.
Would you say this one like adds that, like more that what you're looking for when you're looking for that chocolate kind of?
It gives you that, and it also, I just kind of like the peppery part of it too. Just gives it a little bit of nudge.
A little bit of nudge, a little bit extra assertiveness, I guess.
Yeah.
And with that said, I mean, we use this thing. This is, like 15%, I think. I don't know.
The total malt.
Like-
That's aggressive for one single
Like,
roast
it's
malt.
aggressive.
Yeah, that is.
It is,
But
very
side by side like this is kind of necessary.
Exactly, right?
Yep.
All that aside, we're used to using Hugh Baird's, and Hugh Baird's I think is the best example that we know of. They gives you that straight like cocoa chocolate flavor in a malt. I would say that the Thomas Fawcett one definitely gives you more of that straight cocoa style. And so when you're building kind of a recipe and you're looking for like, hey, by the way, I want to add, I've got my crystals for my caramelness. I've got my roasted barley for my burntness or whatever. Sure. If you're trying to add that cocoa flavor, I think that this one does a better job than the proximity malt by a pretty good margin.
I concur, Doctor.
Dr. Doolittle. So what do you, I mean, I'm sure you've got some kind of chocolate malt, Travis. What do you usually?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think what we got back there. I think we got
Travis
some
is like,
Baird's, I believe, back there. That's usually what we have, I think. So
Baird's is your go-to right now.
Yeah, for now it is.
And I think Baird's is a great all-arounder. But with that said, it's fantastic to be able to do a side-by-side comparison in this video of these two malts that are quite frankly pretty new to us.
No, it's
both of them, and
I learned a lot.
Yeah, I think in my experience, Baird's falls somewhere in between these two.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's milder than both of these, but I think the cocoa flavor, that chocolate flavor on Baird's, is more straightforward and more one-dimensional, I'd say, than both of these two, from my experience.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, these both have some characteristics I like.
Right.
Learned something new today.
Nice. That's what we go for.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, hey.
Yeah.
Good to know you.
That's definitely it. All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up our video talking about the side-by-side on these two chocolate malts and chocolate malts in general, as a matter of fact.
And to wrap it all up as a whole kind of video, you can get very, very different flavors by one malt, even if it's named the exact same thing. And so try different things. And don't think that you're going to be doing a clone recipe just because you see a recipe that says, I've got 1 pound of chocolate malt in it.
A pound of chocolate malt, yeah.
Because chocolate malt is not chocolate malt is not chocolate malt.
Is not, chocolate malt.
As we learned here today.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and please ask us questions in the comments below or on Facebook and Instagram if you've got any on malts, on life, on girlfriend advice. Logan's not great at that, but I'm pretty also not great. And
I've been married for a while. I got a few things to tell you.
Travis is the one to go to. Please follow him on social media too. TT's Old Ag Brewery can be found on Instagram and Facebook.
Facebook.
And then also Travis can be found on Pornhub and RedTube.
Occasionally.
Like, subscribe. Don't do the thing that somebody's doing off screen right now. And we'll see you next time on Genus Brewing.
We got a couch to clean.
Cheers, fellas. Ew.